Aloha, I'm Aaliyah Zimmerman, and this is News Behind the News. If you're a cat lover, this is the show for you to watch. I want to welcome 3 guests today who spend a good portion of their life volunteering to help cats. And I want to welcome them to the show and ask each of you to introduce yourself and tell us more about we'll tell you more about the group. But first, let's start off with telling the audience more about who you are.
I'm Dr. Arlene Skillman. I'm a veterinarian who's been in private practice since 1969. I started the first spay-neuter program in Hawaii, and then we branched into that trap-neuter release program.
And we'll get more into that for sure in the show.
I'm Basil Scott. I'm a retired engineer from Kauai, and I support an organization called Kauai Ferals, which we'll talk about in the show.
Great.
I'm Kristen Matsushige, and I am president of Hawaii Cat Foundation, which was founded in 1993.
Great. Okay, maybe you can tell us about the Hawaii Cat Foundation since you helped found it, or you founded it.
Yes. In 1993, my husband and I purchased a home near a park, and we found there were lots of stray cats in that area, and we didn't know what to do with them. We felt sorry for them, and so we were looking for ways to be able to help them out. And some of these cats were not friendly, so we thought, well, maybe we could just get them fixed. And at that time, we found Dr. Skillman, and she so kindly offered to spay and neuter these cats and told us about a program which was trap-neuter release at that time.
Great. And how do you have more volunteers now besides just the 2 of you?
Yes. Oh, yes. We're going on 20 years later. We have about 25 volunteers that we can count on at any time. And we do have a little sanctuary, but we like to advocate for a trap-neuter return. And we've added an M to the TNR. So it's trap, neuter, return, and manage, which is the whole concept of managing the cats after you've gotten them neutered and returned.
Great. Okay, maybe you can tell us about your organization on Kauai.
Kauai Ferals is the name of the organization. It was founded in 2009 by my wife and a woman named Margaret Suioka. And they had been helping cats, stray cats, not friendly, in areas near where we live, and decided to set up this tax-free foundation as a way to attract volunteers and make it easy for people to contribute and support the activity financially if they couldn't support it with their time and labor. So we're a newer organization and we're a smaller organization, and Kauai is a smaller place. And I would say the number one things we try to do are educate people, let them know what we're trying to do and what it means to be responsible as a pet owner and also for these community cats that we have.
Great. Doctor, can you tell us about how you originally started the first program, and also how do you see in terms of statewide? I don't know if there's any kind of figure for how many cats there are, feral cats, or on this island, or what, if you know anything about that.
Okay. When I started the original program, it was because of the burgeoning population of wild cats, and the population was just expanding. The Humane Society was putting down more and more cats and dogs on a daily basis. So that's why we initiated that program, to get the practicing veterinarians to participate in a program. And through the years, the spay-neuter program has gone from less than, 70,000 to over $500,000 a year in funding for all this time. And it is my understanding that the numbers reached a certain level and then it started diminishing, but it is my understanding it's on its way up again. I think you, Kristen, looked at the site and they said how many?
There's a lot of cats. There was an estimate done for Oahu based on telephone survey, 300,000. Mm-hmm. On Kauai, we've recently had estimates between 15,000 and 20,000. And estimates for the other islands, I don't know, and some of that work is still in progress, but there's a lot of these cats.
Now, I understand the importance of, spading and neutering and controlling the population. Do you said you have a sanctuary. Does that mean that the cats have a place to live and they can come for food and things like that?
Yes, but as I'd like to point out, a sanctuary is not the solution for all of these cats because a sanctuary is very costly to run. It also has finite resources, and you really don't, you're not able to reach all of the cats that you would be if you were fixing them and putting them back out.
Right. So just for estimates, about how many cats a year does your organization help? And I'll go to you after that.
Well, at the sanctuary, we have about 200 to 225 cats on any given day.
That's a lot of cats. And I love cats, but that's a lot of cats, huh? Go ahead.
So there's two parts to what the organization does. One part is trapping cats so that they can be spayed and neutered. And the second part is daily care and the management of the colony. So our organization, daily care is around 250, and then in a year, probably about 100 cats that we're able to trap. But I should add that the totals for all of Kauai are a lot higher than that. So there's other individuals who are doing this, and one of our goals is outreach to those other individuals. And so for all of Kauai, the totals are about 400 cats spayed per year, and I would estimate 600 or 700 fed every day.
Now, I've been to Kauai quite a bit, and I've seen more chickens than cats.
Yeah, I think you would see that. The cats are naturally more reclusive, and well-managed colony cats are pretty much invisible, and the chickens are kind of the opposite.
That's right.
And I think that we have to distinguish between a feral cat and a pet. There's two different management styles going on. One of them is an individual who lives in your home, and the other is maintaining is herd medicine. And that's what the Trap, Neuter, Release program is about. It's herd medicine. It's not what you're going to do to your cat Fluffy.
Right.
It's an entirely different concept on that.
Right. Now, so the average person who might not get the difference between, okay, they understand a feral cat is living outside in the wild and not owned by anybody, not cared for necessarily by anybody as a family pet. But when you go to, for example, the Humane Society and adopt a cat, what kind of cat is that?
It could be a feral cat who's tamer than the average feral. That they find that could fit into a home. Because there are many ferals. I mean, you guys have placed animals.
In
But
fact,
when they become socialized, and we kind of stop using the word feral, which is now why we're collectively referring to all of these cats as community cats, because it more adequately fits the source of where all of these cats have come from.
it's a continuum. But I think one specific point is kittens. And so all organizations try to catch kittens, which are typically dumped there, most likely, by someone who their cat had a litter and it was too many, so they literally discard these kittens as if they were trash. So we try to catch those kittens. They can be socialized, and then those may very well end up at the Humane Society and become a pet.
Now, having adopted many, many cats from the Humane Society, have 3 at any given time at my house. Not 250, but 3. But they're very independent animals, and so I mean, they can make up their mind to come or not come, or stay at your colony or not stay at your colony. How do you address the different personalities when people say it's like herding cats? It's truly must be a challenge.
Well, it is. Basically, the goals to managing your colony effectively is to monitor the cats every day, making sure that you feed them on a daily basis, and you notice any newcomers. So if there are any newcomers, you get them trapped and neutered right away and returned to the area.
Research studies show that by neutering cats, you reduce the wild behavior, including roaming longer distances, the males fighting for females, and the sorts of things that are problems. So part of the process, the neutering helps those problematic behaviors, and feeding helps. Since the cats know food is available in a certain place, they tend to stay near that place.
Now, when we adopted cats, we had, a brother and a sister at first, and they got along great. Then we tried to bring in some older cats, and they fight all the time. It's like a constant soap opera of cat fighting going on. So how do you deal with that with 250 cats or 20 cats? How does it work in your?
Well, there tends to be a pecking order, and usually the older ones will be the dominant figures in the colony. Kittens will defer to their elders, but usually in a colony of neutered animals, you don't have too many fights, not like unneutered cats that are fighting for mating.
You better tell that to my cats because they're neutered.
Well, in your house,
Yeah.
Yeah, in your house, that's
there's a
different.
different protocol. So
Okay.
if you bring a new cat into your house, typically it's important to keep the cat in a contained area, like a bathroom,
Yeah.
for quite a while, like 2 or 3 weeks, before you ever let the cat out to meet the other cats and be in the rest of the house. And that greatly reduces the kinds of problems that sounds like you unfortunately experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a colony, it's important to return the cat where you found it. And this reduces, hey, there's a strange cat. When we see cats that are dumped, and by that I mean someone takes their pet and for whatever reason they just put it into a new area that the cat doesn't know, that's where you can see some fighting and trying to establish that pecking order.
We've seen that, I believe we get complaints about that in Hawaii Kai, where I've heard from the people who feed the cats there that people are leaving their pets. They're leaving their pets there. Is that
Well,
a common problem?
We don't want to advocate at all that it's irresponsible to abandon a pet. It's one of the cruelest things that you can do. How would you like to be abandoned someplace where you don't know where you are? It's the same thing. The cats don't know how to fend for themselves, and they've come to rely upon humans as their source of food and comfort. So a lot of these cats don't thrive and are ousted from areas. You can kind of tell when a new cat joins a colony, they kind of hang around the outer perimeters.
And they get beat up.
Yes.
And we've had cats that have died or nearly died who were pets and dumped. And of course, we try to rescue those cats and get them adopted out. So one of the major messages that any feral cat organization will send, ours, yours, and others, is to say, please do not dump your animals into these unknown outdoor
Plus,
areas.
it's illegal. It's
It is
actually
illegal.
illegal.
And like you said, it's one of the cruelest things you can do to
Yes.
an
Mhm.
animal, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Make them
Yeah.
fend for themselves when they're used to being cared for, right?
Yes.
People tend to think, well, cats can fend for themselves,
Well-
and that's just not true. That's
But I think many
fallacy.
people, they're very misguided. They think that that's better than having them euthanized.
Right.
But the other alternative of just dumping them, I think, is far crueler.
And there's other alternatives. You can ask around about somebody
Right.
else adopting your cat. You can, right? You
Yes,
can
there's
try to work with a
resources.
veterinarian
Yes.
to see if anyone else would
We
adopt.
always say, you should try and put yourself in their place and see how you would feel. That it just doesn't work out. And
Right.
you're just being misguided by your emotions.
Right. Go ahead.
But I was contacted recently by a lady who had moved into a home that came with a cat left behind
Oh,
by
my
previous
goodness. Wow.
residents.
Yeah.
And she wanted a solution for that cat, didn't want to take it to the Humane Society or be irresponsible and just leave it to its own devices. So she contacted us for advice, and we told her about the Trap, Neuter, Return, and Manage program. And then we went to her home and showed her how to operate the trap, and she's happy. She's she got the cat fixed, and she'll be able to continue feeding this cat, and hopefully, she says, oh, maybe one of these days we can even bring him in the house.
Oh, good.
So that would be the objective.
That's
And
a happy ending
that's really
for that
what we're
cat,
trying
right?
to accomplish here, is to really let people know that there is a solution,
There are options.
a humane solution.
Now, if you find a cat that is, you know, wandering around the neighborhood, maybe doesn't have a collar, there's a way to take them to the vet, is that right? And check to see if, I mean, if it's the kind of cat you think might be a pet,
Yeah.
to take them to the vet and get them
the microchip.
microchip, right?
To
Or
check-
to check the
To
microchip.
check for the microchip. Yeah,
Mhm.
we all have readers to see, and then it's in the bank at the Humane Society,
Mhm.
so you can see where the number, who it belongs to, and that person can be contacted.
Now, does that happen ever, or are the cats that you encounter usually more wild?
We have our own scanners, and for those cats that we can touch, we scan them to see if they do have a microchip already. And for those cats that are microchipped, we call the Humane Society. We work together with them on this, and they're able to contact the owner. Or if some cases the owner is no longer around, they've moved off the island, then that cat could be re-registered in our name. But otherwise, if the cat has no microchip or other identification, then we consider it a stray or loose cat, a community cat, and those are the ones that we want to make sure that they're spayed and neutered.
Now, there must be other organizations on other islands working like you do, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
And do you communicate, or do you work together on any issues, or?
Yes, we've worked with both Maui and Lanai. Lanai has a very interesting situation with the cat sanctuary that contains almost all the stray cats on the island. It's a small island with a smaller population, so there's fewer of them. And it's really kind of remarkable. It's actually one of the most popular tourist activities on Lanai is to go see the cat sanctuary.
Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
It's something to look forward to on Kauai, except there's all those beautiful mountains, beautiful waterfalls competing with you, I guess, huh?
Yeah, well, it has been discussed, but I have to agree with Kristen that cat sanctuaries are not a place to simply translocate cats from some area where people are complaining and put them there. It's really a question of there's a problem in this place, and the problem needs to be controlled in that place. Mm-hmm. And cat sanctuaries are for situations where, for whatever reason, maybe a kitten that would otherwise be killed, it needs a home or temporary home.
Now, if people see cats in their neighborhood, what should they do? And what is it that you suggest? Should they call you to, if they know it's not a pet or they think it might not be a pet? I mean, we have, you know, the beautiful cat that comes over every day from our neighbor's house to tease our dog every day. But I mean, I'm not talking about that kind of cat. But if there's a cat that, you know, like in Hawaii Kai, there's cats everywhere, and there are people caring for the different places. But if it's out of that area, what should people do about that? Is there anything they should do?
We actually, KauaiFerals.org is our website, and we actually have a I Saw a Cat app on the web page.
How neat.
So any person, any tourist, anyone can go to the web page, follow the link, and fill in the information on the app, and it tells us, okay, this person, maybe they saw 3 or 4 cats, they were hanging around, you know, this shed by this location, and so that allows us to plan trapping work so that at some point a trapper can go out and attempt to get those cats. And then we'll do the spay and neuter, and we will return them in place.
Now, how do you know that you haven't already encountered that cat before?
Well, the ears are tipped,
Okay.
and so that's just cutting off the tip of the ear, and so visually you can see, you know, that it's a cat. And if it's a pet or something, then hopefully it's microchipped, and you would scan the chip and see that.
So they're identifiable.
Yes.
Well, here on Oahu, we work with several different organizations. We work with Cat Friends, who is a strictly spay and neuter organization. And we have our own website. It's at hicat.org.
So hi, cat.
Yes.
That's cute.
And there's also the Hawaiian Humane Society. They have information regarding trap, neuter, return on their website. And their website, I believe, is hawaiianhumane.org. There's also Alley Cat Allies, alleycat.org,
Yeah,
I
I
believe.
think.
Now, what kind of advice do you have if people want to adopt a cat? Where should they go, and what should, do you want them to come to you? Do you want them to go to the Humane Society so they're not euthanized? What's the best advice?
Well, we have actually started doing our adoption through the Humane Society. And the Humane Society is now, they have sites at the Petco stores and
That's where we
PetSmart.
got our last cat.
Yes.
It was my Christmas present to myself last year. Yep.
So that's been a great boon to the community because it makes it more accessible, and then more homes are being found.
I'm afraid to go in Petco anymore because I always see the
Get more
next cat I want to adopt, but I can't have any more than 3 though. I'll be kicked out of the house. Go ahead.
Well, on Kauai, same thing. We
Yeah.
recommend going to the Humane Society. I'll add 2 points. We do have some private individuals involved with TNR who try to go an extra mile for kittens. And so there's a large network that's been built up, sort of the volunteer grapevine for kittens. And this is to augment and add to what the Humane Society is doing. And also on Kauai, the Humane Society has recently set up a position for TNRs. It's a TNR coordinator. We're very excited about that, and the position is entirely funded through private grants that the Humane Society's been able to organize.
Great. Now, what about, if you, maybe you can suggest something if you have a cat and you want to adopt another cat, what are some good advice if you have a girl cat or a boy cat or ages, or what would you suggest in terms of making them all get along?
Well, I think a basic thing is you would never have 2 males. Like if you're just going to get another cat, it should be either 2 females, a male and a female, but not 2 males, because even neutered, there's a competitive edge, and then they'll end up urinating in the house, and that's not going to make anybody very happy.
Right. So the best thing is same sex, opposite sex. What's the best situation?
I think that you could have either 2 females, as long as the one is not more dominant. That would be probably the best. But male and female works as well. When they're neutered, they're not as high charged, and it just depends on what those adrenal glands are doing to secrete hormone. If it's doing mainly female, it'll be nice, but if that female has a lot of male hormone, that may not work out too well.
Yeah, it's a lot of figuring it all out, huh?
That's right.
Yep. Okay. And what about ages? Is there anything about a kitten versus a older cat, having them get along? Is there any advice you have for that if you want to adopt a kitten or?
Well, if you adopt a kitten with an older cat, the kitten will always acquiesce to the older one, unless the older one is so old. And then when the kitten grows up, that may not work out very well either.
Right.
But you're just trying to.
They're cats. What can you do, right?
I think one of the great tests is like for dogs, you put them on their back, and you see who really struggles. If they struggle a lot, they're going to be very headstrong. If they go on their back, go, okay, then you know that's one who's real easygoing, and that's the kind of cat that would make the best pet to fit into a new situation.
That's a good test. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
We have to do a whole show just on dogs next time for the dog lovers out there.
And not to take anything away from kittens, but we always tell people, because people are very eager to adopt kittens, but you actually don't know what you're going to get. And the kitten may turn out to be a handful.
And they require more work.
Yeah.
And more guidance.
And there's always a lot of older cats who would very much like to get adopted. So we always tell people, maybe you should think about an older cat. You know what the personality is. You know what you're going to get.
They're very
Absolutely.
grateful as well.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing about that we wanted to talk about was that trap, neuter, release program, because it's been said that many places want to get rid of those types of programs, and it's not the pet, but it's those feral colonies that are neutered that keep the environment really stable. And without that, you'll have chaos with unneutered animals coming in, producing more problems that make them less desirable for an area. And that is what we want people to be aware of.
Now, you started this whole concept of doing this long ago. What is it that needs to happen to keep it going? You just said that or earlier in the show you said that there's money out there, there's funding, $500,000 in funding. We've heard stories about maybe funding not being enough, or is it?
But it's funding, it's subsidizing neutering for pets. We're talking about the feral population. That's another whole different side of this. And it depends on what our focus is. Before it was keeping the population down so that we're not overrun with all these unwanted animals that invade our regular territories. So has that changed? I think for a while it got under control, and now it's not. And people with time, they just forget about why we did the things that we did. And then everybody goes, oh no, we're not going to do that anymore. It's like now a lot of veterinarians are touting not neutering animals, that it's, quote, better for them. We forget that we had a population problem, plus it's a health issue for the animal, and that should be the focus.
Okay, so now people want to get involved with your organizations. We only have about a minute left, but tell us what they can do, how they can sign up to volunteer, to donate, to help keep your organizations going.
Yes, contact us at hawaiicatfoundation@yahoo.com. That's our email. Or you can call at, phone number is 688-8822.
On Oahu.
Yes.
Go ahead.
On Kauai, kauaiferals.org, and there's phone numbers, or you can send email. Also, you can call the Humane Society and they will refer you to us.
Okay, and you need volunteers, you need money, you can use all that, right?
Yes, the thing we need most is volunteers.
Okay, great. We hardly ever hear that from nonprofits. It's usually money, money, money. So, all right, well, I'm really glad you came on the show today. I hope you get lots of volunteers and that you can continue the program and the good work that you started. And thank you for all you do for the community. We appreciate all your work.
Thank you for having us.
This has been News Behind the News. Aloha.